Hi guys, February 2nd, 2019. Today is day 5,033 since diagnosis of a very rare form of brain cancer called primary central nervous system lymphoma. I was given 2 years to live, and this past September 27th was the 14-year mark. I'm feeling pretty good. I've been on this pill chemo called Imbruvica, and the normal dose is 420 milligrams daily. It's a single pill, pretty simple to take. And this Dr. Gromes from Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York published a paper on it that if you go double the dose to 840, you get better results. So I've been doing a double dose, and I've always been a huge proponent of cannabis with doing my chemo. And so 14 years ago, when I had blood-brain barrier disruption, it was brutal. The whole procedure was brutal. For those of you who don't know, blood-brain barrier disruption it was originally started out in Seattle, Washington, and the doctor that started, I can't recall, but the Cleveland Clinic back in '04 was offering that to primary CNS lymphoma patients. Me. And very invasive. You go in, say, on Monday, and they pump you full of fluids, get your numbers where they need to be, then they go with the right femoral artery with a catheter all the way up into the brain, inject a chemical called mannitol. The mannitol disrupts the blood-brain barrier. So for layman's terms, we'll call it your brain's force field. This injection of mannitol drops the force field. Now it's down. They go up that same femoral artery and pick one of the four ventricles and inject high-dose chemotherapy directly into the brain. The next day, they go up the left side, they do that same procedure. The problem with that procedure is apparently I wake up out of anesthesia extremely early. And the first day it happened, I yanked the tube out of my mouth. And I said, I never want that to happen again. No problem, Mr. Berger. The next day, I wake up, gagging on the tube. I go to yank the line out, and I'm shackled to the bed. So now here I am gagging, vomiting. They're vacuuming out the vomit. They're telling me, you're okay. You can breathe. You're okay. And I tell my wife at the time, Jen, she says, well, asks the nurse practitioner, and I, believe me, I was really, really out of it. Like, I didn't know. I was so out of it. My ex would give me my anti-seizure meds, Keppra, and I'd put it in my mouth, and 10 minutes later I'd be holding the glass, and I would say, man, these things taste horrible. And she'd say, did you swallow? And I'd say, no. And I'd stick my tongue out, and there would be the dissolving Keppra on my tongue. So she had to physically walk over and grab the glass and put it up to my mouth to have me drink. That's how out of it. So who's she going to believe? This guy we were just newly married, not even a year, and I'm swearing, like I had Tourette's. I was swearing like crazy, and this nurse practitioner's, why would she lie? So, long story short, I don't know how I got on the subject, but today is day 5,033, and this Imbruvica that I'm on is a daily chemo. And at the 4-week mark, they were going to check me with my spinal fluid to see if there were the cells that were in there 4 weeks prior. So when we went to Memorial Sloan Kettering, they did I got what's called an Omayo reservoir in my head. And what I explained to people is, if you remember the Reebok pump shoes, you pump it up in the tongue. That's what I get here. It's a little diaphragm. And instead of doing a lumbar punch in the spine, which can be pretty painful, they just tap this here and draw the fluid out. Funny story with that, when I was really out of it years ago, again, doing the blood-brain barrier disruption, if you're familiar with the African American comedian named Wanda Sykes, this nurse looked like Wanda Sykes, talked like her, and had the attitude like her. And she was like total ball buster, and me and Jen were in, my ex-wife and I were in there, and I'm still really not with it. And she was dropping flippity flip bombs up, just being a normal person, and but more uh, brash, more aggressive, more abrasive. And but I liked her, and she draws the spinal fluid out, and she puts them, and she said they're both clear, and there's a little bit residual left in the syringe that she drew it out of. I said, "Can I see that?" She goes, "It's yours. Go ahead." So I grab it and I smell it, and and I and I sucked it down. And Jen goes, "Why did you do that, Jace?" And the nurse flips out. She goes, "I ain't never seen no motherfucker do that. Why the fuck you do that? Why the fuck you do that? I ain't never seen no motherfucker do that." And I said, "Do you know what spinal fluid tastes like? Do you know what spinal fluid tastes like? Because I do." "What the fuck does it taste like?" I said, "It's kind of sweet." So that's and I have no idea why I did it. I have no idea why I did it, but I can say, and not many people can say, "Have you ever tasted spinal fluid?" So she's like, "What the fuck does it taste like?" I said, "It's kind of sweet." So that's my Wina Sykes spinal fluid story. So I'm on this Imbruvica back to the first inning again because I tend to really get off on tangents. If this is a 9-inning game, I always got to go back to the first inning because I'll go to 7, 4, and 3. So Imbruvica, I'm on it. So they did this spinal fluid draw at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and unfortunately came back positive for 6% atypical cells. Well, what is that? It's not lymphoma, or is it? So, as Dr. Gromas calls us with the results, Liz is looking on the Cleveland Clinic portal my chart and comes out with the spinal fluid draw that we took in Cleveland, which was 20 milliliters. That is a lot of fluid. And the nurse even said, she says, "That's your doctor must want a lot of tests." I said, "Why is that?" She goes, "Because he ordered 20 milliliters. We don't get that very often." So we get the results from that. That comes back clear. So Dr. Gromas says that doesn't matter. You got atypical and given your history. So then they start me on the Imbruvica, and I tolerated it very well. But a known side effect is mouth sores. And at about the at the week 4 mark, they did more spinal fluid draw out of here, and it came back clear, which was great. But just because it was clear here doesn't mean it's clear throughout the whole CNS. So I was happy, but I wasn't overly happy. And then they said, "Well, your Imbruvica is obviously working, so stay on it." And then 2 weeks later, I broke out. So I'm sorry. I end up speaking with Dr. McElroy from Anzelda's out in California, an incredible facility where they specifically match. They got a database. This Mara Gordon she's the founder of this Anzelda's, and she's amassed a database of different cancers and a database of different cannabis cocktails of different terpene profiles, THC to CBD ratios, and she's got this cannabis cocktail goes best with the cancer. And she said, I listened to her interview. I don't watch TV anymore. I listen to podcasts all day, every day, and I punch in cannabis cancer or cancer cures or whatever, anything not mainstream. So and biohacking too, and Wim Hof breathing, and Royal Raymond Rife, and SCFT, and meditation, transcendental meditation. But so I get the results that they so then 2 weeks later, at the 6-week mark, these mouth sores were horrible. And why my doctor did not have the script ready for me for this magic mouthwash that everybody in these support groups that I interact with rave about. it's a known side effect. Why they didn't get it for me is beyond me. And then we we messaged in the portal with the clinic to my doctor, and his nurse answers and says, well, go to an urgent care and have them confirm or deny if it's fungal, and maybe they can write you a script for the Magic Mouthwash. And it was so, I felt like I was a leper. I felt like I had some kind of infectious disease. This nurse practitioner came in there, and she says, so you got mouth sores? I said, yeah. I said, can't you check me out here and maybe give me a script for Magic Mouthwash, see if it's fungal? And this is, she goes, oh no, that's oncology. I can't, that's oncology. And puts her hands back down it. And I read people's body language, and obviously that's a huge red flag that she wanted nothing to do with me. So I said, can't you just look at my mouth and see if you see sores? So she looks and she goes, I don't know if it's fungal or not, but I can't write you any script. And I show her, I said, here's the message to come here, and this is what you're supposed to do. Oh no, that's oncology. I can't do that. So my mouth was so sore that I couldn't eat. And I dropped down below 170. I was really thin again. And for 2 days I couldn't eat. And then by the grace of God, I had a dentist appointment, and I asked him, and he agreed that he thought it was fungal at this point. And he said, why didn't your doctor write it for you? So I told him the whole story. He ended up calling a periodontist, and he ended up writing this script for the Magic Mouthwash. And it was fantastic, and it worked great. But then it went from my mouth down to my throat, and my throat's been really killing me because I've been telling people, trying to explain it to, when you gargle, there's that dam, that blockage in your throat where it stops the liquid from going down your throat when you're gargling. That irritation was just below that, so I couldn't reach it. And when I try to swallow it, it would just kind of gloss over it and really didn't coat it like it was supposed to. Go back and saw Dr. Peerbo, my neuro-oncologist at the Cleveland Clinic, and he wrote me another script for Magic Mouthwash and without nystatin, and then he ordered me a script for an antifungal diflucan, and I took that for only 5 days and got the Magic Mouthwash. And I don't know why he didn't order more diflucan, but so my lips are still sore because that's how it started, with lips being very sore and tender, and then I got the mouth sores and then the throat sores. Well, a big potential side effect is a lung infection called aspergillus, which is fatal. And I don't know, this is me because I have zero medical training at all, but if it's going to start on the lips and go to the mouth and go to the throat, where the hell is it going to go next? So I wanted to maybe bump up the antifungal diflucan, but so Liz and I flew out to Boston on Wednesday. Saw the stem cell transplant team at Mass General, and very impressive. And we never really discussed my last MRI results. So, I'm sorry, my MRI results came back in the next day. I'm sorry. I had gotten the MRI the prior Friday, and I was hoping to get the results Monday. Why did they give me an MRI on Friday and I have to sit there and just dwell on, is it going to be clear, or are they going to see progression, or your mind races, and my mind races to begin with, and adding this on top of it is just short of torture. So I was hoping Monday, nothing Monday. Check. I don't know how many times I checked the Cleveland Clinic MI chart to see the results. No results. Then Tuesday came. Nothing. Then Wednesday comes. We call, and he's going to call us back. Well, then we flew out to Boston on Wednesday morning early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Our flight was at 6:30 because this huge winter vortex was coming in, and we didn't want to get stuck here in Cleveland and not get a flight out to Boston. So Liz was Wonder Woman, Superwoman. She got the airfare, she got the hotels, just in case we get layover in Boston. We had a place to stay because once the storm hits, you're screwed. So she had that all lined up, and we were able to, due to medical reasons, to cancel that hotel once we saw that the weather was okay. So we never got the results to discuss with Mass General. So we flew back home and spent the day or the night in bed at our house on Wednesday. And then Thursday, played phone tag all day. I'm sorry, Thursday morning we got up. We flew to New York City, got a hotel, spent the night, got up super early to get to my appointment at 7:30 at Memorial Sloan Kettering. I mean, I was a human pincushion. They drew blood, they drew spinal fluid, they got urine, and they did a bone marrow biopsy out of my hip, which I'm feeling the effects of it today. So Dr. Gromas was not. I was pretty optimistic when I talked. Oh, I'm sorry. So Dr. Peerboom called us the night we were our first night in New York, and he told us that the MRI came back, and his message that he left, because we were playing phone tag. He's such a sweetheart of a man, but his delivery is, you'd have thought I got the worst. I mean, the diagnosis is bad, but so again, a sweetheart of a man. But this is my impression of him leaving a voicemail on my voicemail, a message on my voicemail. Yeah. Okay. This is Dr. Peerboom, and okay. I'll try to get a hold of you later. Call me back if you can. And I'm thinking, this is horrible. So then he calls finally, and then leaves a second message. He says, I'll try to get a hold of Liz. So finally gets a hold of us on Wednesday night. And he says, yeah, the MRI came back, and we saw the lesions slightly larger, but I brought it to the tumor board, and given your history, and we don't believe it's progression. We believe it's the Imbruvica that's actually working, and it's I don't know his exact wording, but he was certainly optimistic, and he said we're going to watch another month and bring him back for another MRI and spinal fluid draw. Next day we saw Dr. Gromas at Memorial Sloan Kettering. He said, I saw the MRI, and I'm, progression. Or no, not progression. He said, it got bigger. That's not what we want. So obviously the Imbruvica's not working. And I said, that's not what Dr. Peerboom said. And he said, interesting. What did he say? And I told him what the tumor board said, and he says, well, I'll have to call him. He says, but as of right now, he said, you know what? We don't know what it is. He said, given your history, I have to assume it's lymphoma, but it's not acting like lymphoma. So he said, we're going to draw your spinal fluid, and we're going to test for different viruses, and maybe it's a virus, which Liz looked up what viruses it could be, and if it's a virus, that's just as bad as having cancer. It's not good. So so then we were there from 7:30 in the morning, and we didn't get out of there until 6:30 at night. And then we had to run back to the hotel to get our bags, and then try to make it on Friday night, New York City traffic, to get to JFK, which is a city, by the way. It's huge. And the Uber driver took the wrong ramp. He went to 5 instead of 8, so we had to circle back around. And he pulled over because, I don't know, Lyft or Uber, I think it was Lyft, they got to keep their log on their cell phone. So I go, just follow the sign. So we rushed, and then we get to CSA, and my shit luck, I get dinged for a random search. And I've had so much treatment and so much chemo and radiation. I do not want to go through those. They can tell me all they want that, oh, it's just, whatever. It's very, very minimal. Screw you. Do a pat down. So I actually was so out of it because it's such a long day, and we didn't eat anything we didn't eat all day till probably 5 o'clock when we were able to snag some food. I got a salmon salad, and it was good, but at that point, I could have ate the backside of a monkey's ass. So, shit. So going through TSA, and I'm gonna get the sand. I'm standing there, and Liz goes, "No, no, get out of there, get out of there!" And it dawns on me, I can't be in there. So I want the pat down. So the guy's, he's new, and he's being militant, and he surges in his, and I go no, I got to pour here, and he says, well, and I go, oh, and Liz freaked out. She goes, you can't. He's got a bone. He's got a open wound, and I'm like, hey, you can't do this shit. I said, literally an hour ago, I just had a bone marrow biopsy. He goes, I just asked you if you had a medical procedure. So that was, and then Liz she made a good scene to come to my rescue, and some other TSA chickie, she goes, you can't let him speak for himself, and she's like, he's got brain cancer. And later, she thought I should have said that I'm his nurse, because that's basically what she is. She's my caretaker. So she ended up getting a hold of this supervisor, and he handled it very well. He did a nice job and got me through it. So we made it to our flight, and we got home probably around midnight last night, and I couldn't shower because I got this open wound. So I think I'm gonna shower now. That's it.